already got an email out to Mike and a text to Mike, you got to take care of this, report back to me. Like that's coming. That's where, think about that for a minute. Think about if you install that now threatens Salesforce, that now threatens HubSpot, that now threatens even Microsoft. So when you kind of go deeper, that's why this company Brain, if you have it, think of all these software products you tie in right now to try to get to the decision where you are. Could you imagine just having it on a screen right now, on a computer next to you? Think of all the software companies now that are no longer needed.
We're going through something absolutely historic.
Technologies across the board are growing exponentially.
It's a disruption that's going to completely redefine the way businesses compete.
In the next decade, we're going to lose 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies.
The exponential growth of computing is continuing.
AI is nowhere near its full potential.
Whether you like it or not, that the future cannot be stopped by anyone.
Welcome back to the Future Tech and Foresight podcast. I'm your AI host, Mark Verbenkov's deepfake avatar, and this is episode number 243. The way customers buy is fundamentally changing, moving rapidly from a search and retrieve world to a demand for instant problem solving. Very soon, traditional marketing funnels will be entirely replaced by AI agents talking to other AI agents to make purchasing decisions. This means buyers will arrive at the checkout highly educated and self-directed, completely bypassing the massive sales teams companies rely on today. Businesses that cannot provide immediate, accurate answers will simply lose to smaller, faster competitors who can. To survive this massive shift, organizations must stop dragging their feet and start building what is known as a centralized company brain. The runway to adapt is much shorter than previous digital revolutions, meaning the window to act is closing right now. Leaders who prioritize cleaning up their data today will position their companies to dominate in a world where speed and instant answers win. A little bit about today's guest. Len Ward is the founder and CEO of Comexis, an AI consulting and product development firm focused on helping businesses eliminate bottlenecks and scale through automation. He began his career as a stockbroker at Morgan Stanley and later became VP of Institutional Equity Sales and Trading at Credit Suisse, where he developed a strong ability to anticipate market trends. He brought that forward-looking mindset to Comexis, guiding its evolution from print to digital, social, and now AI-driven solutions. Today, Len works with B2B service companies to design and implement AI systems across marketing, sales, and customer service, with an emphasis on practical, results-driven solutions. Perfect. Well, Len, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today to talk about AI, marketing, what's happening with businesses, introducing AI, if it's working or not, all these kind of interesting things. So thanks for taking the time to chat.
I appreciate your time, Mark. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So the way that I start every podcast is to kind of get a sense of what brought you as the guest into the work that you're doing, into AI in particular now.
Yeah, so it's kind of I guess kind of like a strange road, but I won't get too far back. I mean, my career started on Wall Street. I moved into the e-commerce world. But fast forward, I started a digital agency that grew rather rapidly. And probably about 5-6 years ago, the term automation was a term that was kind of threatening a little bit in the marketing world because we kind of felt like we were all getting automated out of our jobs. Doing a lot of research, testing out a lot of products led me to the term artificial intelligence, which a lot of people on this, listening knows that's not really a new term. It's been around for years. I just think nobody really knew what it meant. Robots, Terminator, that kind of thing, which it may be going towards. But we tested out a product called IBM Watson. And IBM Watson was probably one of the very first ones that was out there where it was like, okay, this is going to be, something to look at AI. And I tell people all the time, we thought the product failed, but what we did think that IBM was doing was that clearly what the road they were on and what they were trying to accomplish, where this thing was going to have intelligence that was going to interact with you, we were blown away with. So that's, we kind of looked at it and we're like, okay, I think honestly it was way above our pay grade. Like we were, all of us collectively in a room, we're like, this thing, like we don't know what we're doing. But we kind of looked at it like, okay, something's coming. And we always talked about it, talked about automation. We tested out new products. And then alas, ChatGPT came on the scene about 4.5 years ago, right? Something like that. When that happened and we started playing around with it, yes, there's a lot of hiccups, a lot of, we all know there's hallucinations. We started testing that, and then we started testing a couple other products. But there was the aha moment about 4 years ago when I was like, okay, every single thing we do has got to be artificial intelligence. Like even though this thing is as clunky and it kind of reminds you of the internet in 1995, 96, like the way you were hearing people talk, we were like, we got to go all in. And that's kind of how we arrived at AI. And here we are, over the last better part of 4 years, every single thing we do is 100% artificial intelligence built on top of the LLMs for marketing, sales, customer service, everything. So that's kind of how we arrived here.
Very interesting. And I guess a natural question is like, how was that transition for you, right? For your company? Like, did you fire everybody and just implement AI bots and LLM chat discussions like throughout everything, or like how? Like, it sounds like you made it happen really quickly, but how was that transition for you?
The first moment we didn't lay everybody off, but the first thing that we noticed was how well it was writing. And if you're involved in the SEO community for years, you knew writing. There's a thing called Panda updates, Penguin updates, all kinds of crazy updates Google did. Penguin was more of a backlink, but Panda was the update where Google was constantly looking for. There used to be content spinners years ago. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you would buy these content spinners, would take a blog and rip out 15 other blogs. They were atrocious. However, the entire goal was just to get more backlinks to your website to try to raise up the SEO rankings. But what we were noticing with this was that it was writing really good content. And then we would throw it through things like Copyscape to try to say, okay, is this out there somewhere? It wasn't. So that was the first moment where we realized AI was like, you look around at your content writers, which we had quite a few at that time, and we're like, oh man, it's a problem. Like this is a problem for them. But then we have one content writer who, we still have now, was smart enough to say, yeah, but you're going to need somebody to edit this. And they are right. And that is where we were like, okay, well, maybe we don't need 10 writers anymore. Maybe we need 1 or 2. And maybe the 1 or 2 can start like the seeds of what they want the content to be. And then they're going to edit at the end. So that's kind of how it happened. But if you fast forward to now, I can say in complete transparency, I don't think Comexis is going to be hiring too much in the near future, but I do think it's securing people's jobs that are here right now.
Right.
So I think that's where we are. So hopefully I kind of answer your question. That's kind of where, we landed at that.
Yeah. I didn't expect that you fired everybody. I haven't heard a guest anyways do that yet, but it's always interesting how once AI is adopted, especially more or less ubiquitously within a company, like how the structure of that company changes. And one of the first things that everybody listens to or thinks about certainly is like, well, what happens to the employees? I personally see it as a augmenter, right? So every single one of my employees just becomes maybe not super powered, but getting there with, every single day we're introducing new kind of AI systems or, APIs connected to this to do reports for that. It's very, very useful. So you've also, this is also kind of curious, you also do sales within your company. And correct me if, is your current company also still doing marketing sales, or is it moved on to something else?
No, we still do. We still basically implement marketing, help out with certain types of, how marketing can help sales and customer service. But we literally like to say we move companies from the search and retrieve world to the solve my problem world, which is kind of where we were. So very much like Comexis in the heyday 20 years ago, we were moving people from the traditional marketing world to the digital world. So we're now kind of morphing into that solve my problem world, which, to be honest with you, I think every single one of us are just building the road as we're taking steps forward. Anybody that's telling you they got it planned out for 2 years, they're lying to you because nobody knows where we're going to be in 2 years.
Yeah. I don't even think like agents was a real term that was utilized like a year and a half ago or something like that. To say that you have a plan for 2 years is a little bit crazy. Okay, so for the companies that you're helping out right now, they've obviously, maybe just based on what you said, they've obviously tried to implement some sort of AI tools, or like at the very least, their employees and the CEOs are using ChatGPT or Copilot or some sort of AI tool in that sense. But like, what are the stumbling blocks when companies start to implement AI, especially at earlier phases?
They're not answering the core question, which is what comes back to what I said, is that the biggest fundamental shift you're going to see in business is not necessarily the speed, although that's there. It's not necessarily what AI is going to do to jobs, although that's critical. It's we're morphing as a consumer. We're morphing as business and everything in life. You literally go to ChatGPT, you ask a question, you expect an immediate answer. You go to Claude, you expect an immediate answer. And don't roll out something like Perplexity, which is one of those hidden gems that a lot of people use. But your business has to be ready to answer those questions. Your business has to be ready to adapt to that individual. So when we see business owners, CEOs, CIOs and CMOs, when they're implementing ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it may be, Gemini too, they are augmenting work, but they're speeding up the process of what has to get done. They're almost kind of starting to work workers to death because what's happening is that your clients are now expecting things to be done more quicker, faster, cheaper, right? But the problem is that if you keep doing that, that's fine, but you're still living in a search and retrieve world. So your marketing team or sales team steps back and says, okay, well, what type of brochure should we create? What's the white paper? What's the funnel? All of that is gone. All of that is going by the wayside. Not today, but it's going by the wayside. So we tell business owners when we're having a conversation with them saying, you need to identify the bottlenecks that stops you from answering questions right here, right now, meaning we need specs on a product. We need pricing on a product. Is there availability? No, they don't want to read your blog before they get to the pricing. No, they don't want to read, your white paper on something with the industry when it looks at availability. They want to know right now what the answer is. That is an entire fundamental shift for a business owner to take a step back and look at and say, so I have to rewire the entire rails underneath my business. And we come in and say, you do. So before you get to ChatGPT, before you get all that, and don't get me wrong, you should be using those tools. But that's where you have to start from the bottom all the way up. It kind of is in a weird way resembles like when you had to add like slap on e-com stores for your business for COVID. Remember, everybody had to do that in a real hurry.
Sure.
It's kind of like that, but imagine that on steroids and 10,000 miles faster.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where we are, but that's where we tell people like you can use those tools, but that doesn't make you AI first. It just means you're doing things at a faster pace, but you're still living in a search and retrieve world, which is going to hurt you as we are rapidly moving into solve my problem.
Yeah. So what you're describing really sounds like a paradigm shift at the fundamental layer of what businesses are actually going to have to solve for. Like the customer journey also seems to be changing as well. It's not a go to the website, go to the social media, understand all these things. It's I want the information now, because we are being trained, as you said, by these LLMs to get the information within a split second. And if there's any delay, instant frustration, right?
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. They walk out the door.
Yeah. So are you with some of these business owners that you're working with, are you sensing like frustration, or like is there willingness to take this on, or are they pushing back and saying, no, this isn't how it is? Like we should just keep going what we're doing, like implement AI within the company to make things faster and cheaper for our clients?
I'm thinking 10% of the people, new customers or clients that we're dealing with, to 15% are forward thinking and thinking, we need to really go all hands on deck. And they're actually having like an AI council. Like when I walk in here, a company has an AI council, I'm like, okay, you guys you're hitting it. I love it. That's like the first thing I want to hear. But I would say 80% are dragging their feet, maybe parallelization by overanalyzation, or if I'm, flip-flopping that thing. And I'll tell you why. I don't blame them. And I have this conversation with them. I'm old enough in the industry at 54, 3 decades in, where I'm like, you're taking the slow pace or path, because in the digital world, it wasn't really till COVID. And I tell people this all the time, 35% of small businesses up until COVID didn't even have a website. They were just relying on things. So COVID made them do that. So, but you're thinking you have this 25-year runway like we had with the digital age, when you don't. If you're really on the front lines and you're really digging deep into the LLMs and the other, tying in a bunch of products where you're watching these agents move and so forth, you realize we're down to days to weeks to maybe months. And that's what's it's not your competitor that's going to get a jump on you. It's potentially the 2 employees in your company that understand how to run AI that's going to go start their own business. Or even like, I use this name all the time in any show I'm on, Jenny and Mike, who are in their garage, who maybe worked in your industry, and because they've built an entire AI stack, they can compete with a 10,000 person shop. That's your enemy right now, not the enemy down the street. And I think that's the thing that's really going to harm people. Not to go off on a tangent, but I think that's where the unemployment's going to come from. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to lose my job because of AI. I know you're going to lose your job because your company was slow to the punch when it came to AI. And now you're laid off because a 2-person shop is raining hell on you. So there's this mantra that everybody's going to start laying everybody off. Like I hear these large companies with these reductions. I'm like, these large companies are not prepared in any capacity to go to battle with a 5-person shop. It's going to be a nightmare. So if, but I do think the rise of entrepreneurship in our country is coming, and I think that's a great thing for our country.
Yeah. That's, I guess, the natural segue. It's, yes, there's going to be layoffs, but there's just such tremendous opportunity here for forward-looking people, forward-thinking people to build a company from the scratch, like really quickly, unlike any other time before. And I think the Instagram example was like the main examples that was used for several years. It was like 8 people that sold it for like $1 billion or a couple $1 billion within a couple of years. Now we're hearing a lot of talk of, when's the first $1 billion company or multi-billion dollar company that comes from one person, just leveraging an army of either AI agents or different kind of AI tools to do that, to sell to another Facebook or Google or whoever. It's very, very interesting.
I agree. Yeah, that's coming. I know as Mark Cuban's really been pounding the table on that, and he's spot on. Like that's coming. And I think you're probably 18 months out from seeing that, maybe 2 years. It's coming.
Yeah. And I guess one of my questions, and I've heard this from some of the audience members, is like, well, what's the quality of like a 1-person company compared to, let's say, I don't know, like a 500-person company? What's the quality of work that these AI agents can deliver today between these two, right? I think there's still this idea that people need to, I guess, as you kind of said, they need to double check, they need to review the AI work. So like, how can these 1-person or 2-people companies actually deliver the same value or the same quality of work compared to these other companies?
So there's a couple answers I'll give on that one. That's actually a really good question. So I think the first thing is, I don't necessarily think the 1 or 2-person shops is really going to compete at this moment right now, just because of the amount of human touch. Like, I elect to work with Mark because I like Mark, so I'm going to sign a contract with Mark. I arrived at Mark because I was referred to Mark by another business owner and so forth. So you're going to find it difficult out of the gate to be competing with the company you just left or the company you're competing against. But where that shift is going to change is when you're starting to do agent-to-agent marketing, agent-to-agent sales, agent-to-agent customer service. That is the next horizon for business, which means you're going to be walking around with an apparatus. It could be a phone. Somebody at ChatGPT leaked, I don't know if you might have saw it, a little blueprint. It was like a circular device that you're going to kind of clip on you, or Meta glasses. This is going to get to know you from A to Z. It's going to get to know your finances. It's going to get to know everything about you. I mean, even right now, ChatGPT, you can hook up your finances and medical right now and run it. So you're going to find yourself that when you have an issue, your AI agent that's going to be like your personal caddy is literally going to know before you know. And they're going to start interacting with other businesses that they think you may like and so forth. And you're going to find yourself 95% of the way decided saying, I'm going to work with them. That's where the little businesses are going to really fly, because they're going to start their business in the world in the dawn of agent to agent, marketing, agent to agent sales. And that's going to destroy the entire process. So think of a company that has 10,000 salespeople. Well, if I'm doing agent to agent sales, do I need 10,000 salespeople anymore?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have a couple smart salespeople are going to say, we're going to do the agent to agent sales because we know the verbiage, we're going to know what to say. So not getting too high level, not getting real into the weeds, I think that's where it's going to happen. The next thing, kind of veering off a little bit, I know people are a little concerned about agents, and I get that a lot. Like, well, we haven't started. What do we do? Look, I think some of the stuff that's happening with agents right now is amazing. I think I have seen some of it. I think some of it's really cool, but I'm also really paying attention to what Claude's doing. So if you do co-work, and I'm starting to pay attention really what ChatGPT's doing. What's happening is that if you are not in the agent world, don't worry about it right now, because these things are rapidly, I would think by mid next year, they're going to be able to create an agent for you just by you typing it. You don't have to worry about connecting them to MCP and I don't know what to do with this API. you're going to be surprised. Their goal is to have agents built within the system and you just deploy them. So little side note where I know people get really concerned about agents. I'm like, don't, because that's their next horizon. That's what they're trying to figure out. So I hope that answered your question. That's where I think the 2-person shop is going to start competing against a large shop. That would be my prediction.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. I also, just maybe as a footnote here for the agent point, I think also one of the main concerns is cybersecurity issues, right? Like we've all heard some of these horror stories of like entire databases being deleted and like multiple companies being shut down because they've deployed an agent. And I think that, even though there's obviously some beneficial positives to deploying agents, these things need to be much more stable and secure in order for them to be more ubiquitously used for companies across the world. And this is also what I'm hearing, also from guests that have come on. It's like, they're building in the background to make a stable version of these agents that won't destroy your company in one prompt. So I also think that that's very true and very exciting too, right? Once they come out, super interesting.
Yeah, I do think that you are right. Security is concerning. I just had Claude Cowork going on my computer because I was trying to build a report for something, and it's like, we need access to so-and-so. I was like, no, we're not giving it access. I'm out. You are right. I think so. If you're in the IT world, I think contrary to what people are telling you, cybersecurity, I think you're in a really, really good job profession right now. Yeah.
I think I've had a couple of cybersecurity experts. We got hacked. Well, client got hacked that compromised some of our systems back in February, and it was an absolute nightmare. But because of that, I brought on a whole bunch of cybersecurity experts, and there's going to be nothing but growth in that industry over the next several years. Hackers as well, they're growing faster, but cybersecurity experts are there as well. I want to use some modern parlance, double click on that sales role that's going to be changing. So I'm still assuming that high ticket sales is still going to be a human to human interaction. When we're talking about what you were talking about before with this agent to agent sales, is that mostly for like lower end products or like household goods? Is it going to be also like local services? Like what aspects of society do you think is going to be more agent to agent, or do you think it's just all going to go agent to agent at some point?
Yeah, that's so exactly how you laid it out. I think it's going to go small. Think of home services, food, even medical, even think of like auto, things like that. And then it will morph all the way up to the high ticket sales. So I think it will morph, all the way up to if you're a mutual fund manager and you're thinking about making a trade on a couple million shares of Microsoft. Yes, you're still going to look at the research, but your research agent is going to come back and say, this is why we need to allocate, 2 million shares of Microsoft in our portfolio. So, and then yes, it's going to come back to, how comfortable you are with your equity salesperson. And I'm kind of going like high end. Or it's even something like if you're thinking about buying a Porsche or you're buying something, $150,000 car, like you're going to know what you want. It's going to know you want a Porsche. You're looking all the way out and you're going to show up at the dealership and you're 99.9% there. So I think that fundamental, I guess you could say, where you're kind of doing like the marketing, how you walk them through the funnel, it's like the drip and you get them through. I think that's going to be really run by AI. I think the days of funnels and, trying to work people through the buyer's journey, I think that's going to sunset a little bit. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to have highly educated buyers showing up at your doorstep, no matter what product it is. And they are going to be, you have to respect this, as educated as you on your product because of AI and because of their agents. And I think that's something you have to be ready for. So to me, the businesses that know how to close, whether that's person-to-person interaction, whatever it may be, that is going to be paramount. So if you have a professional closer as a salesperson, or you under your process at the very end, if you're a company and say, hey, we when clients get to 95%, we know Joe's company can absolutely close it. You're going to do good. If you're a company that has a tough time closing, and you just kind of really doing business because of the overwhelming, maybe leads you get or something, you're going to have a tough time. So the bottom of the funnel, the very, very small sliver of the bottom of the funnel, I think is where sales is going to live. And that unfortunately is going to reduce salespeople's roles. If there's 100 salespeople in a room right now, and at its heart, I am a salesperson. That's kind of where I started. I always have been a salesperson. But if there's 100 salespeople in a room, I would say in about 18 months to 2 years, I think that's down to about 20.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I guess the follow-up question to that is going to be for the companies that have deployed AI to educate the customer about their business.
To educate their agent about the business.
Their agent, right?
And then their agent's going to educate them about the business. So as we're very inquisitive, as we all know, as in our nature. So we feel really good about a purchase when we understand the purchase. We don't feel good about a purchase when we have no idea what the heck we're buying and why we're buying it. So the agents that I've noticed that are very successful are the ones that are literally starting with, what is the outcome you're looking to get to? If that, what is the outcome? Why do you want that outcome? And then it goes back in and starts working all the way back to try to get you there. So I think you're going to see this part where I think businesses are going to struggle because you're going to realize you're the person you're talking to, even though you have 35 years experience in the business, and that's great, but these people are highly intelligent, show up the front door. They know what they want. They know the product. You're not going to upsell them. You're not going to side sell them. They're going to know what they want, and you have to be ready to deliver that product. You're going to solve my problem with this product, and I want it right now. That's kind of where the new business is headed. From there, I don't know, but it's a complicated, future world if you think about it.
Very interesting. I'm still a little bit nebulous on like what the future of marketing is going to look like. Like I understand agent to agent, but like, does social media disappear? Do websites disappear and they just turn into like I've heard a couple of website businesses, their website is now just a chat box, and you just chat to their chat bot that knows everything about their product. Can you help elucidate me as to what your future thought here is?
Yeah, so I think marketing right now for the last couple of years and going forward is at the crossroads of AI and influencer marketing. I think that if you're a business and you're doing marketing, the days of hiding behind your walls and hoping a pay-per-click company is going to bring the leads in for you is kind of wrapping up. I know we all love that because it was a very easy way to market. Now you need to be front and center. Now you need to be doing videos daily. You need to drop the routine of we hide our pricing and no. You have to almost look at yourself as a micro influencer. And because what's going to happen is that the search and retrieve world is going to be, like I said, solve my problem, but it's also going to be entertain me. I'm going to watch, the Future Tech's podcast. I want to see what they're doing behind the scenes. I want to see a day in a life. I want to see their clips. Like if you think about TikTok, you think about Instagram and who you're following right now, your business is going to be front and center there. So no longer are you going to be, kind of like just like running your business and hoping things go well and the marketing team does great things. Your marketing team is going to be what, and I say this lightly, sometimes I think Gary Vaynerchuk's the smartest guy I've ever heard. Sometimes I'm looking, I don't think, what is this guy talking about? But at the end of the day, Gary Vaynerchuk made a couple really, really good, I guess you could say predictions that actually have come true. Years ago, I heard him say that you're going to walk into a company and there's going to be a full media room and that is going to be their marketing department. He has been spot dead on with that. And we are literally progressing towards there. So anytime he talks about that, I'd recommend to clients stop and listen to what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying, because what he's saying is the future. So I think that's what's going to happen with marketing. It's going to be your marketing team. It's going to be less about, hey, what does our brand logo look like and what does this look like, opposed to what is the message we're trying to get out today? What problem are we solving today? How can we put a video behind that? I mean, can we talk about that? And don't mistake yourself. Little text clips and things like that are still going to be there, but marketing is going to be lead gen will die. Brand building is here. Agent to agent marketing is what's going to happen with marketing. So again, going away from search and retrieve, which is the world we've all lived in, to solve my problem is a categorically massive shift in marketing and what we're seeing in right now. Websites. I think we are a huge website shop. We've probably built over 3,500 websites in our last 20 years here. So we do have the websites where it's basically just a chat bot, even though they have like a lot of stuff on there. Like the chat bots are getting, 50, inquiries a day. I think your website is still going to be relevant. I think it's going to be a repository for all of your information. I think what's going to happen is that when you are advertising on ChatGPT or wherever it may be, they're going to plug into your type of website, and that's where they're going to start pulling your content. So I do think your website is maybe not as pretty as you're used to it being, like these really nice design websites, but your website will be just basically your massive data center. It's going to be your data room. And so I do think it's critical that if you have not put a chatbot on your website or have not thought about what the future of your website is, it's time to start thinking about that. So those are my two predictions on marketing and websites.
Very interesting. I have listened to quite a few hours of Gary in the past as well. And I think
Yep.
one of the things that this was before the generative AI world came about. Actually, when I first started the podcast, I was listening to it quite a bit, and he was saying something along the lines of, with the what's it called, Amazon Echo, and like these voice systems that people, I don't have that. I would never trust that in my house, but people that use that, if you speak to it and you say, I need, whatever it is, toilet paper or paper towels or something like that, it's going to understand the brands. It's not going to do a search. It's going to do it understands which brands are the most relevant, and therefore it's going to automatically order the brand that I guess might connect with you the most. So even back then, I think he was talking about this death of lead gen and this drastic increase in the need to brand your company, to have, brand becomes the most essential thing, even for smaller companies, for product-based companies, et cetera, rather than the the typical search and retrieval marketing as you've been talking about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think if you haven't invested in your brand, now more than ever is the time. So if you're a brand marketer, you're in a great spot right now. But the brand marketing, you have to bring to the table way more than just, okay, this is how the logo is going to look, and these are our color palettes. Okay, that's fine, but the agent doesn't care about your color palettes. Although it may, I guess you could start thinking about colors, but the brand is, what is your brand's voice? And what is it saying? What problems is it solving, and so forth. So I do think brand marketing kind of fused in, with like sales and other types of marketing is where we're really headed. But I couldn't agree more. I think if you're a lead gen company, if you have been relying on lead gen, aka lawyers, and you have no brand behind it, but just generate me more leads, but nobody could pick out your law firm's logo or your company's logo or who you are, think of like home service goods, you're going to have a problem on your hands. And again, we could go down a rabbit hole of, what lawyers should do, what home goods should do and all that, or home services. But I do believe, back to what you're saying about Gary Vaynerchuk, the death of lead gen is here. We're seeing it. We're actually, you might be seeing it too. We're seeing less traffic coming to people's websites, less leads are starting to come in, and the rise of the brand. And, you're starting to notice DMs are starting to come in on Instagram. DMs are starting to come in on Facebook. Like, it's happening, and we're here, and it's something you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I guess just to reemphasize this point that you were talking about, because this doesn't come onto the podcast as much as I think it should. It's about the time frame of this, right? So, like, a lot of like my clients, they're older, they're wealthier, they run successful companies, and they are used to paradigm shifts taking a decade or 2 decades, or it's certainly not 18 months or 24 months or something. Like, those timelines don't seem to make it into their the prefrontal lobes. It's sure. Very much, it's going to take a long time, so we've got time to deal with it, rather than kind of what you're saying is start working on this right now, because it's probably going to disrupt your company much faster than what you're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people right away, they're like, well, we may have time. I'm like, really? Tell me where you were this time last year and where you are now. And it's amazing how many people are like, yeah, I wasn't even really using ChatGPT last year. You are now. And I don't even know too many business owners that aren't using Claude or ChatGPT on a daily basis, 10, 15 to 100 times a day, because they're seeing how smart it is. Yeah, I think if you have not nominated an individual to be kind of lead your AI, and I can touch on that a little bit, within your company, it's time. If you understand that AI is not a tool, it's now a way to run your business, it's an actual complete business model shift, it's time to understand that. If you are paying attention to Jim Cramer and Arrest Hub on CNBC, which is great, and they're telling you about the AI build out and all of that, that's fine. And I, being a former Wall Street guy, I love hearing that. Every morning I have it on and I listen to it. However, you have got to do yourself a service and talk to somebody who's on Frontlines AI, and maybe have them come in and show you exactly what's coming, saying, this is what's here, this is what's coming. By the way, this has already been deployed. It's one of those moments where you can't unsee what you see, and the fear of God will be in you after you look at that, because this is not the internet. This is not, we got to rank on Google. This is, you are going to find companies who are going to find themselves in dire straits, who have blown this AI thing off. And anybody who's discounting AI, you've never used AI. That's the ones that I am seeing some of the senior leaders. Well, I've seen this before, and being 54, I'm like, look, I've been in the game long enough, and I saw the internet switch over. I've never seen anything this fast. This is coming like you just can't stop this train. So, Yeah, there it is I think it's a life and death decision businesses are. If you are ignoring it and then you find yourself in dire straits and a cash flow problem in 2 years, don't act like you weren't warned because you've been warned.
Right. And at that point, like, what can those companies do? Is there anything, or are we just going to see, kind of like the horse and buggy to the automobile transition, right? There were just people that continually wanted to shoe horses, and then there are not enough horses, so we're just seeing this mass die off of these kinds of businesses. Is that what you're seeing most likely going to happen here if people don't transition? Yeah.
I do think a lot of large companies are going to die off. I think you're going to see the rise of people wanting and used to working with 5-10 person shops that can do a lot. Now, obviously there's other massive companies, massive airlines, massive, there's certain industries where, AI is going to touch it. But think of service-based businesses where you have maybe like a service-based company of like 10,000 consultants. Like companies like that are really going to fall by the wayside because people are going to be used to working with a smaller shop. And here's the other thing. The very first thing you would think is, well, M&A is going to happen. They're just going to start acquiring these small companies. Maybe. But what AI is going to do is going to give people a different quality of life. And they're going to say to yourselves, okay, you're going to acquire my company for $50 million, yet I'm already making $5 million a year. I call my own shots. I work when I want to work because that's how AI is going to do it. It's going to be all going. It's going to drop you in, drop you out because AI is going to be running 24/7 and you're going to come in when needed, which will be still, a few days a week. But so the M&A thing, you're going to begin to take that off the table because I think people are going to say, nah, you know what? I like where I'm at. I want to work because I need a purpose in life. I'm already pocketing $2.5 million a year. Well, how much more do I need? And then yes, you're going to get your contingency of people that are going to try to, grow and become behemoths to try to become the next Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, we get that. Jeff Bezos, we get that. And that they will still live. But I think the traditional way we've done business where, okay, well, if we're going to survive, we have a cash to burn. We're just going to start acquiring companies. I think that's another thing you better think about because I don't think those companies are going to be there. You know why? Because there's no moat. AI is showing us there's no moat anymore. There is no moat. So if people are able to rapidly build little companies, just because you acquired Mark's company doesn't mean Len's company is not going to be your next competitor. And then Jenny and then Mike. See what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. The whole business way we look at things. That's why I think when you have certain people in the AI world talking about what's going on, these are the things that are not being discussed. You think the traditional way to do business is going to always live. Guess what? They thought the same thing in 1900. They thought the same thing in 1950, and they sure as shit thought the same thing in 1990 before the internet came. Here we are again, so things are being discounted. I think we are underestimating what this is going to do fundamentally to business.
Yeah, fascinating and terrifying. This is something that comes up almost every single time on the podcast. Yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah,
it's just wild. Your team did send me over one question here, and I think I know what this means, but I think I just want to shut up and let you talk about this. What is a company brain, and why is it becoming essential?
Company brain is just basically the major part about that is just building an AI stack. That's your brain. It's everything. Every piece of information you've ever created, any single thing you've ever done, any type of documentation you have online, offline. You'd be surprised how many companies still have a lot of offline information. You need to start pulling this into an internal AI brain, which is ultimately going to be the thing that is going to be guiding your company. What that looks like, I don't really know. We do build custom stacks right now. We literally build them on top of LLMs where it's just the way we layer them in our knowledge that helps. But we tell people right away, everything we do is not proprietary. Nothing in AI is proprietary unless you're one of the LLMs. But if you are not having that as a central part of your business, literally digesting all the data, that is one of the things you need to start having your AI council, having a conversation with. And I mean, it's obviously something you can bring us in to help you with. But yes, having a company brain is paramount right now in AI. And I don't mean just, running a question through Claude. There's a way in which you can stack these things up to really say, okay, this is what we need. And it's paramount to have.
Yeah, so thanks for that. This is something I've been thinking about quite a bit as well. Like, I want to be able to speak to my company and have it respond, query different aspects, revenue, clients, what's the turn rate, what's the the CAC and LTV of the sales process. I want to be able to just have a conversation essentially with my company rather than having to go all these different platforms and trying to figure this out or ask somebody to come up with these stats for me. And I think that will also help like the strategic decisions of CEOs in the future, where you're able to get this information literally after a little prompt, and maybe even also then get like, hey, whatever your name of your own AI systems, like what do you think is? So you're going to have kind of augmented strategic decision making, for better or for worse, with C-suite executives.
Yeah, they'll be working for you overnight. They're going to have a conversation with you when you're having coffee in the morning. Like they're going to either voice or they're going to text chat you, however you want it to be, video as well, and they're going to tell you what's going on. Like that's coming. I know that ChatGPT, OpenAI, and I know that Anthropic Claude both are working on something which I think is coming out soon, which basically is going to be what we're talking about. Now, I'm not overly concerned because we're kind of building different types of things, but they are working on that, where they are going to be running your numbers and so forth. And even answer your question. It's like, okay, well, do you want that? Do you want us to let Mike know that he has to kind of push this along? And you'll say, yes. They already got an email out to Mike and a text to Mike. You got to take care of this. Report back to me. Like that's coming. That's where, think about that for a minute. Think about if you install that now threatens Salesforce. That now threatens HubSpot. That now threatens even Microsoft. So when you kind of go deeper, that's why this company Brain, if you have it, think of all these software products you tie in right now to try to get to the decision where you are. Could you imagine just having it on a screen right now, on a computer next to you? Think of all the software companies now that are no longer needed, right? Yeah. Because you already have this. Why would I buy a software right now package with you and have to adhere my company around that software, where now I can have a software that's built around me and I don't have to worry about adhering to anything? It's that, to me, is the most frightening thing, because I don't think people quite understand the amount of people that are working in the software industry. That is something that's not talked about. That is one of the more scary things I see with AI. Yeah, this SaaS apocalypse, as I keep hearing about. I think it's you're absolutely correct. It's going to be a lot larger than what we expect. I'm just always curious about, there's kind of two sides to this coin, where the technology is available and then you have the people. Like, it actually requires people to implement. Right. So if you're saying 10 to 15% of the CEOs that you're working with are getting, it was 10 to 15% are the leaders, the ones that are actually going forward. Maybe it's also 10 to 15% that are just resistant to this kind of change. I get I think it always comes down to whether people are able to implement this stuff as quickly as it's coming out. And it just always seems like it's not that way. No, you're talking about actually implementing the AI throughout the company, you mean? Or let's just take the company Brain point, right? Like I'm currently spending my evenings looking into building a company Brain for my company, right? And it's also going to be like an onboarding process. It's going to be, for both employees as well as clients, right? I want to remove myself more and more from the day-to-day stuff, right? It's still a new business. But that's because I'm spending my evenings focused on building this. And I know that it's available. I know that it's possible. I just need to figure out how to do it. But I think that, even some of my clients, they just want nothing to do with technology. It's like, just give me the leads and let me go and do the work. So I think even if a company Brain, let's say in the next year, ChatGPT builds how do we term this? The company Brain that you can just install onto your company overnight. Right. For me, I don't think some of my clients, even if they're aware of it, would even take the step to do that. But I guess there's always going to be those type of people in the marketplace. Yeah, I think it's the pioneers and settlers mentality, right? Like the internet. Like there was something, if you were to tell somebody, I remember sitting in boardrooms back in the late 90s, and you were telling people about websites and telling people about email marketing. They were laughing at you at that point. Because they had it, but they're like, I don't need a website. You can just call me up and visit me, or, I'm not doing the email. Just write me a letter. Write you a letter. So we say that now in hindsight, we're laughing. And that's where I think the old guard is going to kind of dissipate a little bit. And I'm actually with the old guard. At 54, I'm kind of like on the back end of that old guard. And the younger people underneath me, like, this is just going to be, they're settlers. They're used to this already, right? So they know if they're going to start a business, we need a Brain, we need this, we need that. Where, just 10 years ago, if I'm starting a business, I need a website, I need marketing, so, right. So I think it's just like the pioneers and settler mentality, I think, is where we are. And I also think that you make a really good point. Years for marketing, we would always hear in the marketing world, and you may know this too, is, oh, well, Facebook is making it so easy. Facebook has come out and said they're trying to basically do all the ads for you, Google as well. Well, the little thing you forgot about them doing all the ads for you is that business owners need to run their business. They don't have time to do their Facebook ads, nor their other marketing on Google. So I do think that you're going to see a rise of AI, quote unquote, consultants that are going to help implement and so forth. Do I think the market's going to get saturated? Yes, it already is getting saturated. If we talk to somebody, we know that they're talking to 5 other companies. But I do think there is business to be run or business to be had. You have to run your business. You have to do those things. And I think the smart CEOs are going to be the ones, bring in an AI consultant, let's get it done. But what's going to happen is that reoccurring revenue that consultants have always been so used to, that's going to kind of dissipate. Because once it's installed, the brain is now going to start training itself. You're no longer going to need that consultant. So that would be my guess is how I think it's going to go. But you are right. I mean, sometimes when I talk AI, people's eyes glaze over. They're like, this is overwhelming. I'm like, it is today. I'm like, but it won't be in a year.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, I think there's just so much to consider. Maybe I also use the time is winding down here. So it's not if, we know that there's other CEOs, other small business owners that listen to the podcast. If you want to leave us with kind of one point of advice, one free insight, if you will, on how to start thinking about implementing AI or what to think about AI that maybe you haven't said, or just kind of reinforce one thing that you have said for a takeaway here.
I'll say the same thing I've been saying for multiple years on multiple shows, and for some reason I've been trying to get to another signature, but like this is still the most important.
It works.
If you have not taken the time to organize a data room, okay, and one of the jobs that is going to rise, we tell people there's going to be called AI pilots you're going to hire, but the other one's going to be your data room manager. Identify an individual at your business who is a data room manager. And your entire job right now is to digitize anything you have offline. There's a lot of companies you can go to for that. If you don't have that, to make sure every single solitary thing you've done from customer service, sales, past customers, marketing, products, whatever it may be, get that all in a secure data room, work with your IT company. You can have something as simple as Dropbox, because that data room is going to be paramount for AI to go in and start looking and plugging in and identifying your business. It's where your brain's going to plug in. It's where the marketing is going to plug in. It's where all of it is going to plug in. There's too many companies that are like, yeah, well, we don't know where to start. Here's number one, clean your room up and get it organized. Like no AI is not coming in and cleaning up your room. At some point, I'm sure you'll be able to throw all this into AI and organize it for you. But that's where it gets clunky. You start, having hiccups. But if you literally organize a data room, marketing 2022 to 2026, new products, new sales, all the way down. From there, you can actually start working within Claude on that, working within ChatGPT, and it's starting to get to know everything. So your data room and a data room manager is paramount. Start with that, and then other stuff starts falling in line.
Perfect. Len, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. We will have your website and your LinkedIn up on the show notes. Are there any other places that you guys are active and you want people to see what you guys are up to or reach out? No, that's it right there. LinkedIn. I tell people all the time, if you have a general question about AI, feel free to just, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer questions. Awesome. Well, thank you for your insights and terrifying me and fascinating me and all the guests or all the listeners. I think that's that should maybe be the tagline of the podcast now. It's like the future is fascinating and terrifying. Listen to guests that talk about this. Yeah. That's not bad. Good marketing. Yeah. Terrific. Thanks a lot for your time, Len. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. Well, thanks for listening to this week's Future Tech and Foresight podcast. If you like what you've heard here, there are, of course, a number of ways that you can support the podcast. The best way would be to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give a rating on Spotify, which you can find a step-by-step explanation for on the futuretechandforesight.com website. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment either on the episode show notes or the YouTube channel where you can see video recordings of the interviews. And finally, if you are part of an organization that is aware of the disruptive and transformational impact that emerging and future technologies will bring and want to know more, Please get in touch to hear about the strategic foresight services that we offer and how we can help future-proof your organization and take advantage of the phenomenal opportunities available to survive and thrive in the future.
A lot of future-shocked people and future-shocked institutions in our society are simply overwhelmed.
Once there is superintelligence, the fate of humanity may depend on what the superintelligence does.
Science fact is catching up to science fiction.
The first truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make.
The only scarcity that will exist in the future is that which we decide to create ourselves as humans.
Within a 10-year design revolution, we can have all humanity living the highest standard living anybody's ever known.
Progress is accelerating at an exponential pace, and it's going to reach a point where progress is so fast it's going to be a singularity.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens.
Every single headline points to the birth pangs of a Type 1 civilization.